Hey, what's up, champs? It's your boy Silos in the building. I'm going to break down what a four square is. I'm pretty sure you've seen this in the past if you purchased a vehicle. Lots of salesmen, this is a structure in which they use to be able to go over the purchase price and basically get the payment commitment out of the end buyer, right? I'm going to relay over what I've learned in the car industry, and I'm going to relate it into creative finance and real estate. It's very similar. In the car industry, they wrap cars. They also talk about purchase prices and they go over down payments, and interest rates, right? Same thing in creative finance with real estate. So in a four square, first square over here is the purchase price, right, of the vehicle or the property. Say over here, down payment, right? Both price and down payment are important when you're buying real estate, so we can understand what our cash on cash return is going to be. What's our overall payment on the property? In terms of vehicles, right? Purchase price of the vehicle, down payment. Down payment is very important to the end buyer because end buyers, majority of them, they purchase and make decisions off affordability, how much money goes down, and what can they afford every month, what's their budget. Not It's not the same case for investors or for cash flow landlords. It's a little bit different because you can see this to be a strategy to use debt for an investment instead of for personal uses. So price and down payment, then typically there would be like a trade-in. Most people are going to level up or go ahead and get an upgrade, right? So they go ahead and trade in their vehicles. Right now, we're not talking about trade-ins in real estate. We're not going to be putting that there. So we're going to cross out trade-in and we're going to go ahead and drop interest because interest rates, they pop up in creative finance. Not all the time, but at times they do. Same thing with down payment. They don't always come up when buying a car or when purchasing a property on terms. They're not always there, but they could be, right? Now, payment, last square over here is the payment. What's the overall payment when somebody's buying a car, or what's our payment going to be to the homeowner if we're going to buy this on terms, right? So most people buy vehicles on affordability, or even they buy their houses on affordability, meaning what's the payment going to be? That's the most important part for them, if they can afford this every month. And at the same time, how much money have they saved up to put down, right? Whether they're buying a car or buying a house, that's their main focus. For us, it's a little bit different as investors, as we can leverage debt, right? So purchase price is going to be important for a homeowner who's attempting to sell their property. So price is always going to be important to them if they're not in a distressed state, right? So if we're working properties are in a turnkey condition and they're hoping to terms for multiple reasons, that could be little to no equity, foreclosures, could be they just have been getting lowball offers and don't want to sell it at that price, right? So price is really going to be important to the homeowners. So we're going to go ahead and focus on the price, cash or creative, right? Now, down payment, through experience, I've learned this is very important as well when we're going into a creative finance negotiation. Find out price and down payment are basically going to be very important to the homeowner. Now, payment we can overcome. We can overcome the payment because sometimes there's not much cash flow and the homeowner understands that. Sometimes they own the property free and clear, and we can come to terms with each other on the payments, right? Now, no trade-ins for vehicles, right? Because we're not selling cars or buying cars here. I was just going over that for educational purposes and what it really broke down in a four square, how I learned it. But now we're going to drop interest rate, right? So interest rate will be in this. They come up not all the time, but some homeowners, some sellers, they will bring up interest rate. I won't buy anything over 4%, 4% interest. I know that there are people that are buying at 5% or less, right? So try not to go over those numbers. The lower the amount, better, right? You can get 0% or principal only is the term you should use. And you should rather use that term. But 0%, great. If not, keep it low, go up to 4%. That's what I'm buying at. But I know Pace Morby and a couple other people that are buying at 5% or less, right? They're buying the rate because rates are a lot higher right now. So an example, a homeowner wants $300,000 for the property. Maybe it's worth that price, maybe it's not, but very close to it. Nobody else is giving them the price they're looking for, right? So we bring the value when we start working properties on terms, because we usually come to the table with a solution, whether it's going to be to help them through a sticky situation, like a forced foreclosure, it's going into auction. We can catch up arrears that if the numbers make sense, we can postpone the auction and figure out what we can do, or we're coming to the table with the right number, the right purchase price, right? So price is very important. So we're going to be able to do that on terms as long as everything else makes sense, meaning the terms make sense. Now, here's a big portion right here. They get the price. Now they may need a down payment. They may not, right? It just depends on how you structure it, how you set yourself up, and find out the motivation here. Now, depending on the amount of money, right? I don't know if it's going to be 10 grand on a $300,000 purchase price. I don't know if it's going to be 30 grand. I don't know if they're going to ask, 150 grand. We don't know, but obviously there's a certain number that isn't going to make sense. Now, in certain events or certain positions, you can purchase a property using a mortgage method in an event where a homeowner wants too much money but is open to terms, and you run some numbers in some scenarios and you find out this may work. It might be the only way that it'll work for you to get it done. So mortgage method could be an opportunity or an option, another way for you to come in and buy something on terms, a property on terms with a high down payment. But for now, that's gonna be last resort. So purchase price, then we go to down payment, right? So I would try to keep that down payment from like 5 to 7% or lower. I know some people will pay 10 to 12% of the overall purchase price. So all this really depends on the condition and everything else, right? Condition and everything else, meaning like the exit, how you can cash flow. Is the property over market price? Is there any equity in it? Things like that, right? So just really all depends. Then we come over here to the payment, right? Could be important. Sometimes there's not much opportunity if there's already a mortgage in place with the payment attached to it. So it's not the hardest thing to overcome, right? But in an example, they want $1,000 of cash flow. Maybe it can happen, right? Because it's educational purposes. Just know that you can wiggle around the down payment. You can strategically work against them if they want $1,000 and you come into terms and they want $1,000 after you came to an agreement on a down payment. Maybe you can say something. Let's say they want 30 grand, but $1,000 payment, and maybe you can give them $1,000 payment. Maybe you're not far away from giving that 1,000, but you have to give them 800, right? So however you're going to make it sweetened, or you really need to actually dial it in so you can make it make sense, right? You can kind of like pull a little bit away, give them a little, you pull some, or vice versa. But let's say they want 30 grand for $1,000 and didn't make sense, or maybe it was close to making sense, right? Well, hey, Mr. Seller, if I give you 30,000, I'm going to need to do, a payment of like 600, 700. No, I want $1,000. I want $1,000. Okay, well, it's not going to work for me. But what I can do to give you those $1,000 is if I reduce the down payment, that'll be a way where I can pay you a lot more in the monthly payment. So giving you 10,000 allows me to come up on the monthly payment, and so on and so forth. You can understand where I'm getting to, right? So you can leverage yourself on the down payment. Price is very important. Down payment is important. Payment, there might not be any, or there could be a large amount in there. It just depends on how you negotiate. That's not the hardest part. Interest rate comes up at times, but not all the time. Just it really depends on how you set it up. Interest rate comes up, I don't know, 50, 60% of the time I jump on phone calls. Most of the time I never bring it up and never gets brought up. And there you go. That's the Foursquare for everybody. Much love.